Welcome in. It is episode 4 of the Merrifield Sportsbook Show for the 2025 season. That means we are in week 3 of the college football season. Welcome back in. Of course, it is Nick Burt, Jade Coster, Justin Walsh, Matt Merrifield. And as we start here, I believe we do have to start wishing a certain somebody in this group a happy 22nd birthday. It was yesterday for Matt Merrifield. I hope he is feeling 22 today. Matt, we'll just start with you there. How are you feeling in this 22nd year of life?
I mean, it feels absolutely incredible. I'm still the youngest person in this committee by, I think, 2 years. 2.5 years almost. Because, Jay, I think you're the second youngest person. But either way, I feel great. It's good to be back for another week. Another solid week last week, and I love the slate this week. I had to leave a lot of games out that I really love, but I had to refrain myself some sicko football on, especially on Friday night, but it's fine. Can't wait to get into it.
Jada Coster, you had a very special experience on Monday night. You were in Soldier Field for the Bears' victory in the first 3 quarters. How does that feel?
Yeah, I got to see Caleb Williams run a great scripted first drive at Ben Johnson, then it all fell apart because he can't throw football. So, I mean, the highlight when Nick, Jim Cornelison just fires me up. Great national anthem as usual. And yeah, just typical Bears football the rest of the way. It's how it goes around here.
Yeah, typical Bears, typical Browns, almost typical Lions this weekend, Justin Walsh.
Yeah, it was a rough one. Can't lie, especially after I called it free money going in. But, we live and we learn. It was a rough game, but unlike a lot of Lions fans, I am not ready to jump off the roof. I'm not panicking about this team. A lot of the mistakes I saw were very coachable. So I'm not completely panicking yet. Obviously not something that is ideal to see in week 1, especially against a division rival. And realistically, probably the team that you're going to be contending with for that division title throughout the season. But, we live and we learn, we move. I still feel good about the Lions this season, so we'll see where we're at. On a side note, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Burt on his potential promotion. We'll see, pending, but potential promotion.
Yeah, no comment on potential promotions here.
Jay,
yeah.
I'm going to change the subject. Jay, I have lots of questions about the Wrigleyville scene, the gambling situation in the state of Chicago. We have a lot to discuss this weekend with, for those that don't know, I will be visiting Jada Monster in Wrigleyville this weekend, starting Friday through Sunday. Saturday, we will be at the Cubs game.
Yeah, I mean,
that
Matt,
information with you will.
I forgot to text you today because Anthony Rizzo just announced his retirement. He's going to be honored at the game on Saturday, so you're in for a special.
I love Anthony Rizzo. Him and Chris Bryant were 13-year-old Matt was a huge fan of the Cubs. Even though I was not a Cubs fan.
So you're going to be giving him a standing ovation, and we're also going to be going to the DraftKings Sportsbook, watching some great college football after. I don't know, but it'll be a lot of fun. So Wrigleyville's. Matt's going to have a time there, so
cannot wait. What's the current tax situation on placing wagers?
So on DraftKings,
this is a gambling show. It's a relevant question.
So on DraftKings, it's like 25 cents. FanDuel's like 50 cents, but eventually for DraftKings, it's going to go up to 50 cents every bet. So do not move to Illinois if you're looking to get into sports wagering.
So what you're saying is, if I want to make some birthday wagers, I have to do it before I depart. Or before I cross state lines.
I would recommend you would do it before you depart the state of Michigan because utter woke nonsense decided to take over in July. I don't know. I mean, I don't make the rules, but we're going to tax people every single bet, which basically juices you makes it like basically minus 142 odds every single bet. So that's fun.
JDC running for Chicago City Council.
I'll get the campaign started immediately.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's get into the betting.
This is incredible content. Let's start where we did last week. Where we were right, where we were wrong. I'm going to start with you, Jay. Just tell me where you were right and where you were wrong, because I can tell you I was very wrong before going into this recording and completely forgot to grab my computer charger. So I'm going to grab that while you tell us where you were right and where you were wrong.
Well, where I was wrong, I mean, Ole Miss, that the locked-in hit, of course, 0-2 now. But I'm going to go with Arizona State. That just completely failed because apparently Mississippi State has a really good home field advantage, and I'm not saying they're going to be good this year, but they went into Starkville and got their ass. I mean, they came back, but they kind of got destroyed in the fourth quarter. I mean, Sam Levitt was seeing ghosts out there for majority of that football game. So that wasn't great. Whatever, it is what it is. So, and Ole Miss, shout out Lane Kiffin, who literally said, "I'm sorry to all the gamblers out there." Now, that's why I love Lane Kiffin. I absolutely love that man. Thanks, Lane. Thanks for your defense for just completely giving up. And, just Kentucky field goal kicker barely making that field goal by like an inch. So that's always fun.
Jay, I said during the show last week how there were trap houses. Last week's slate was like walking down 7 Mile. Trap houses everywhere. And 3 of your 5 bets, you walked straight in the front door of them.
Yeah.
And now the one you didn't get burned on was Vanderbilt, which that probably was the best one. But the other 2.
Well, that one was easy because Kylan Jones is a bum. And Vandy, a big fan of Vandy this year just because of the talent that they brought back. But, I mean, Ole Miss it's just a bad beat. I'm not really going to complain about that. But Arizona State was I should have known better of the Cowbells.
Here's the lesson that we learned, Jay, and it's a lesson for everybody in this group and everybody out there. Never lay a touchdown on the road in at an SEC venue. All right. Can we make that rule?
Yeah.
Don't do it. All right.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Sure.
Jay Walsh, where were you right? Where were you wrong?
All right. Well, I had another decent week last week. Where I was right, I'm just going to stick to my lock of the week. I told you Illinois Duke over 49.5 was free money. It hit with like 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Illinois damn near got to 50 points by themselves. They ended up with 45 in this game. So that was clearly the easiest spot for where I was right last week. In terms of where I was wrong, I could go with Tulane. I took Tulane minus 10.5 against South Alabama. They were controlling that game for the majority. And then South Alabama came back, made it close at the end. I think Tulane ended up winning 3. I believe they were up like 16 or 17 heading into the fourth quarter. So that was a bummer. But I am going to go with, and it's the pick that I hated making last week, and you all hated me for making it last week. I was suckered into taking the over in the Cy-Hawk game, and I regret it immensely. I thought we were going to be okay. They weren't quite on pace going into halftime, but it was close. Did not pan out. Just flat out did not pan out. Didn't get anywhere close to that 41.5 number. I'll hand up. I'll take that one. That's my bad for taking the over under in an Iowa State game. That's my bad for taking the over there. So that's where I was wrong. Matt, we'll move on to you.
Where I was right was not a part of my picks last week, but this is just a shot at my father, who claimed that the Baylor Bears are terrible, and he still claims the Baylor Bears are terrible. But Baylor might be back. Just saying. They found a way to win at a fraudulent SMU team. Besides that, I would say probably the biggest one being Oregon taking Mike Gundy and Oklahoma State for a walk right off the deep end. I mean, that was actually fun to watch. Like, usually games like that are not fun and you want to turn it off. It was a bad car wreck. You just had to keep watching, and Oregon never stepped on the brakes at any point. Where I was wrong, I guess I'll go back all the way back to week 1, or was it week 0 when we gave our predictions, and the UTSA Roadrunners might be dead. Texas State is a good G5 team, but you can't start 0-2 as a G5 team and make the college football playoff. So unless they rattle off 11 in a row including the American Championship. Jeff Traylor's team is not going to make the college football playoff, which is disappointing. But I was wrong there, and it is quite unfortunate. Nick, let's go to you.
Where I was right, not doubting the troops. I took Army plus 17.5 last week. They won outright. I should have taken the money line there because the writing was kind of on the wall, but troops are back. That is a good sign for my group of 5 playoff prediction. Where I was wrong, UConn's playoff hopes. They are very much dead after they blew a fourth quarter lead at the Dome. And honestly, the playoff hopes died, I believe, on Friday afternoon around lunchtime when Matt texted me, there's one major flaw with your UConn playoff propaganda push. And it's that UConn can't get into the playoffs unless they finish in like the top 12 of the rankings. And that was never going to happen. So, yeah, didn't really think that one through. Thought they could get that G5 spot, but that goes to a conference champion winner. The Independent does not have a conference championship. So UConn playoffs very much dead. And that's honestly, that's on me. I should know the rules of college football, doing, a college football gambling show here on the very esteemed Nick Burt Sports Network. I should know the rules here, but nevertheless, here we are. Let's get into week 3. Some major matchups this week, especially in the SEC. It really feels like conference play gets kicked off this week. And we're going to start with the Georgia Bulldogs traveling to Knoxville to take on the Tennessee Volunteers. Georgia is a 4.5-point favorite here. The over-under is 49.5. Jay Walsh, I'll go to you first on this game. Kind of what are you thinking about with this game? Obviously, this is going to be a major test for the first time for both of these two teams.
It is. This is definitely going to be, obviously, probably realistically one of the games of the week. Me personally, I'm very excited for that USF Miami game, but realistically, this might end up being the best football game of the week. I think these are two relatively even matched teams. I would lean Georgia. I picked them to win the SEC at the beginning of the year. I still think that they're the best team in the SEC. So I'm going to lean Georgia here. The fact that it is at Tennessee does make this interesting. I think if this were a night game, I would possibly give Tennessee a little bit more here, but because it's a 3:30 game, I do think Georgia is going to be able to kind of get over the hype of Neyland. And like I said, I think just Georgia overall is a better team, and I think they're a better coach team. Not to say anything bad about Josh Heupel, but Kirby Smart is still that guy. So I'm going to lean Georgia minus the 4.5 here. I could see Tennessee keeping this within a field goal, but I would, if I had to bet this game, I would take Georgia. In terms of the over-under, I don't like this number a lot, that 49.5. I think that's pretty close to what it's going to be. I would probably lean the under, but I don't feel confident in it.
Matt, we'll go to you next here on this game. It's really feels like the first massive SEC game of the year. Obviously, there is one later on in the day, too, that we're going to talk about in mere moments here. But this could be, I would say this is going to be a massive matchup for the SEC East, but the SEC East does not exist anymore. So overall, just a massive matchup this early on in the season.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The SEC, obviously, they only added the Texas and Oklahoma, but every single week, the SEC seems to have an actual premier game. I know the SEC has 2 this week, which we'll get to the second one in a moment. But meanwhile, the CBS game for the Big Ten, what replaced the SEC, what would have been this game on CBS is now USC at Purdue. Not everybody, don't get excited all at once, guys, please. But seriously, this game I'm very excited for. I I was discussing this with a friend of the program, Mike Merrifield, and he loves Tennessee. And as somebody who has an affinity for Tennessee, I want to root for them. I will be rooting for them. Do I think they'll cover? I'm too scared after what Nico I did to me last year with this Tennessee team, because they were so good against the bad teams, which they have been so far through 2 weeks. But when the good teams show up, you don't know what you're going to get. But maybe that was all Nico I. Maybe Hendon Hooker. Maybe this is the Hendon Hooker magic, or somewhere in the middle when Joe Milton was the quarterback 2 years ago. I'm not quite sure. I really don't know. If it was in Sanford Stadium, I would take Georgia, whatever the number is. But at home dog, Neyland Stadium, they're checkering the stadium. I'm going to go Tennessee at +3.5. I don't feel confident either way. I guess if it went down to 3, I would stay away altogether. If it got down to 2.5, I would take Georgia probably. But if you're giving me the field goal on the hook, I would lean Tennessee, because I don't love Gunnar Stockton, but we'll have to wait and see.
Jay, we'll go to you next. Your thoughts on this SEC battle?
Yeah, no, I think for Georgia, Gunnar Stockton still has a lot to prove. They still have really good defense. I think it's the same way with Tennessee. Joey Aguilar, who is impressed so far, but who has he really played? Virginia Tech is not good, and he's got a big test against top 5 defense in the country. It's a 4.5. I think I would lean Matt's side here, and just the home field advantage with game day is going to be very tough. Neyland's one of the toughest places to play. I think for that reason, I'd lean Tennessee. I mean, Georgia, I easily could see them winning by a field goal. I just think the 4.5, the 4 in the hook is a little too much for this type of matchup. So I think for that reason, I'm just going to lean Tennessee here. And like I said, just Gunnar Stockton is very unproven, and he's going to go on the road in an SEC environment. We'll see how that goes. I'd probably lean Tennessee in this spot, and I'd probably lean the under here. It's just these two quarterbacks are still kind of unproven. Joey Aguilar is making that huge step to the SEC. How is he going to handle playing against a very good defense? So give me the Vols.
I'm going to agree here. I like Gunnar Stockton, but I feel like this is way too early to be throwing him into this massive of a matchup early on in the season. I do love the Georgia Bulldogs. I think they can potentially win this game. I just don't think they're covering that 4.5 number. That is very scary to me. This very much feels like it could be a field goal game. So give me the Volunteers in this one. I mean, it was all mentioned, although it's at Neyland. They're doing the checkerboard of the stadium. It's a tough place to win. It's a very tough place to win, especially when you're a quarterback like Gunnar Stockton, who doesn't have as much experience. I think it's going to be tough, but if there's a team that can get a victory in a somewhat convincing fashion in this stadium, in this environment, it would be a Kirby Smart coach Georgia team. So it will not shock me if they pull out a 15-point victory here, but I do think Tennessee keeps it close, keeps it within a field goal, but I still think the Bulldogs probably win this game. And that
Nick,
other SEC matchup. Oh, yes.
Is the last time Tennessee beat Georgia? I see that Georgia's won 8 in a row. Is 2016, was that the Butch Jones Hail Mary with Joshua Dobbs?
Yes, I believe so.
Wow. Shout out Butch Jones, first off. Second off, okay. That makes me even less confident in Tennessee that it's been that long. But yeah, they haven't won in Knoxville since 2015. It's been 10 years. That's not good, but I guess we'll wait and see.
Josh
Let's move on
Dobbs,
to Death Valley.
Browns legend, Josh Dobbs. Yes, let's move on to Death Valley, the other SEC matchup we were talking about. Florida, the Gators, off their loss to USF last week, traveled down to the Bayou to take on LSU. LSU is a 7.5-point favorite. The over-under is 47.5. Matt Merrifield, will go to you first. Nobody gets out of Death Valley alive. Is that going to be the same story for the Florida Gators come Saturday night?
Alive as in winning the football game? I don't think Florida wins this football game. Covering the 7.5? I have a hard time taking full touchdown and the hook favorites against. I mean, early in the week, it was 9.5. I believe I sent it to you on Monday, Nick, and I was like, this is way too big. Like, there's no reason for Florida to be 9.5-point dogs, and it has dropped to 7. I still lean Florida, I think. I mean, South Florida is a good team. Should they have won in the Swamp? No, there was zero excuse. That was 100% a look-ahead spot for Florida, and they fell into the trap, and Billy Napier is once again coaching for his life, and I think that might be why Florida even has a shot in this game, because Billy Napier just loves being up against the wall, like truly. Because last year, Florida took care of business in early November. This was like the start of their 5-game winning streak in November into the bowl game to close out the season was against this LSU team. So do I trust Brian Kelly? No. To cover, I don't trust Brian Kelly to cover 7.5. Give me Florida to cover. They might win, probably not, but definitely cover 7.5.
Jay DeCoster will go to you next. Obviously, Florida is coming off it was a bad loss to USF. The way it played out, just absolutely terrible. But this is putting Billy Napier's back against the wall, and it always seems like he pulls out some type of fluke victory in those situations. Do you think this is another one of those situations?
Well, I don't think they're winning the football game, but we talked about last year when he was coaching for his job. They beat Ole Miss. They had some really good wins at the end of the year when earlier at this time last year he was dead in the water. And, that winning streak kept his job, and that's why he's still here this year. I mean, yeah, he is up against the wall. 7.5, 8.5, wherever you get it. It's just so many points. But this is a rivalry game too. I think Florida's going to be fired up. I mean, this was a look-ahead spot, so they're ready for this game. I know going to Death Valley is tough, but you did see Alabama, who wasn't very good last year, go into Death Valley and win at night. So it is a very tough environment. But we'll see how LSU is this year. I know they beat Clemson, but I like Florida in the spot. I'm not saying they're winning, but I do like the 7, the hook, the 8, wherever you get it. Florida's still very talented. I still love Lagway, even though he wasn't good against USF. He was actually horrible, but I think they'll come back fired up for this spot. So I do like the Florida plus the 7.5. It is scary because you're going into a Death Valley against a very good LSU team, but I lean Florida in this spot.
Jay Walsh, you next here. Death Valley at night. This feels like the first big game for LSU this season at home. Obviously, we know they had the Clemson game 2 weeks ago. Do you think we'll see a similar game to what we saw them play against Clemson 2 weeks ago, or do you think we'll see something different this week?
I think it kind of will be similar. I could definitely see this being a fairly low-scoring game. This is like, I'm kind of in the same spot as all you guys. I think LSU probably wins this game. I really don't like that 7.5 number. Just mostly because, like it's already been said, Billy Napier's basically coaching for his job right now, realistically. He's got to turn this around quick, especially with the absolute gauntlet that they've got coming up in their SEC schedule. He's got to rattle off some signature wins this year to inspire confidence in him, in his ability moving forward. This has to be one of them for him. I don't know that they get it done, but I do think they keep it within 7.5. The LSU offense, which, everyone was talking about Garrett Nussmeier being a potential Heisman candidate going into this year. The LSU offense hasn't really looked that impressive. Obviously they played a talented Clemson defense in week 1, but they put up 23 points on Louisiana Tech last week. That's not really something that scares me if I'm a Florida fan. Like I said, I think I definitely like the under here because I think this could be a very low-scoring game. But I can't in good faith take LSU by 2 scores in this game. I do like LSU to win just because night game at Death Valley, and I think LSU is I think they are an overall better team. But I think Florida is desperate enough, and I think Billy Napier is desperate enough to keep this one relatively close.
Yeah, and I mean, it has been mentioned, Billy Napier feels like he's coaching for his job, even though it's just week 3. A lot more was expected of this Florida Gators team this year. Obviously, it's only 2 weeks into the season, but a loss to a in-state opponent not named Florida State or Miami for the first time since the 1920s when they lost to Stetson. Shout out the Hatters. It feels like this is a prove it game for Florida. Billy Napier's got to show something. That's exactly why LSU is going to cover this spread here and just find a way to win this game by double digits. I wasn't overly impressed by this Florida team. I think they're a good team. I don't think they're great. LSU, I know they kind of had a little bit of a down week last week against Louisiana Tech. That could have been a kind of both look back and look forward situation. I mean, it was a little bit of a trap game, even though it was in Death Valley. Give me LSU here, minus the 7.5. I hate the number, but give me the Tigers. I like them to win here. So given that, we're going to move into our picks here. What a week last week for some of us. The parlay graphic for the locks went 3-1. Obviously, that was contested because the Ole Miss number may have been incorrect. So, yeah. Matt, you look like you're questioning this.
We went 2-2.
Did we? What?
Ole Miss didn't cover.
Yeah, but the graphic said 9.5.
The last second field goal brought it down to 7.
Oh,
I did not cover.
Okay, never mind. We went 2-2.
You were busy dealing. You're good, but yes, it was going to be 10.5 after the last second touchdown by Ole Miss, or last minute touchdown, and then it didn't matter because Florida or Kentucky went down and kicked a field goal because they could.
Okay.
So
great work, guys. We went 2-2 last week to match our 2-2 week last week. It means we are 4-4 on locks in the season. We'll get it figured out, maybe, because the same 2 people have hit their locks the first 2 weeks, and the same 2 people got their 2 locks wrong the past 2 weeks. So I'm seeing screen high fives here. I don't know what's going on. Jada Costa.
All I know is the Jay Walsh lock of the week curse is officially dead. That's all I'm saying.
It does feel that way. The Jay Walsh curse feels like it's long gone. Jada Costa, going to you first. Give me the parlay for the week.
Well, I'm by far the worst here, and you're going to me first. We're switching up. Fair enough. All right. Well, 3-6 on the year. We'll see how this goes. We're going to start off with North Texas. They host Washington State Cougars on Saturday. North Texas is giving 6 here. I like North Texas in this spot. Wazoo's got to travel, obviously, from Washington down to Texas. I like North Texas to get a touchdown win here against Wazoo, who hasn't looked great. So I'll take North Texas minus the 6 to start. Next, we got Miami against USF. They're hosting USF. Miami is giving 17.5 here. Vegas is begging you to take USF. They're begging you to take them. So I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm taking Miami minus the 17.5. I think Miami's defense is very good. They have a lot of potential first and second round draft picks on that team. They did play really well against Notre Dame. I like their offense this year. So I like Miami minus the 17.5. I think they can easily demolish them. I mean, I expect USF to have a little bit of regression after beating Boise State and beating Florida. Next, we got Notre Dame minus 6.5 against A&M. I like Notre Dame in the spot at home in South Bend at night against an A&M team that's improved this year, but I like Notre Dame to lay the 6.5. Notre Dame, I'm expecting a bounce back big spot from them here against a pretty solid SEC team here. So I'll lay the 6.5. Next, we got South Carolina laying 4 against Vanderbilt. This is a night game in Columbia, which is no fun at all for Vandy. So I like South Carolina minus the 4 here. South Carolina is a very good team. It's just a tough spot for Vandy. Vandy's a very solid team, but South Carolina is very good as well. I like the minus 4 there for South Carolina. And next, we got Alabama minus 20.5 against Wisconsin. This is my lock. Wisconsin's not a good football team. They are awful. So for that reason, we're going Alabama. Alabama needs they have to make a statement here. So I'm going to go Alabama minus 20.5 against a pretty god-awful Wisconsin team. So those are my picks.
Jay, have a question for you really quick. Do you know what color Kalen DeBoer will be wearing on Saturday? Because that could decide your fate with your pick. He is 9-1, wearing all black, 1-4 when not wearing colors.
It's a noon game. No way he wears all black.
No, it's got to be red. It's gonna be hot down there. So the last 11 a.m. kickoff, I'd go red. So
it might be over for you.
Well,
I have a bone to pick with Jay. I don't have to go next, but when it comes time for my picks, he just pissed me off. But anyway,
go, Matt. Please go.
Well, we're gonna start. I don't even have a lock anymore. It was Alabama, and now they're off my board. I took them off the board. Oh. I'm not taking any chances.
Well,
I can show you the phone.
I'm glad to know that is officially transferred away from me, Matt, because there were a couple times that you took a pick off your board last year because 100%. It was my lock. So
and what's funny,
I appreciate not being the recipient of that anymore.
And what's funny is that there's one game on here that I share with Jay, if you didn't see it quite fast enough, but of Jay's 3 correct picks, 2 of them we've shared. So I guess that's going for me. Utah week 1, and then USC. We both took USC last week, which was my lock. All right. I got to figure out which one's my lock now. We're going to start Friday night. I want to take Arizona so bad. And Nick, do I replace Alabama with Arizona?
Yes. Do it.
Yes. Okay. Done. So we're going to start off Arizona getting a 1.5 at home. The Arizona Wildcats are the better Wildcat team this year in the Big 12. Kansas State has no business being a favorite over anybody after the shit they've pulled so far this year. So, and after what happened last year, Friday night, week 3, Kansas State, Arizona, when Arizona got ran off the field, they get revenge at home. Give me Arizona minus 1.5. Also on Friday in the Big 12, give me Houston laying 4.5 at home against Ricky Staub and the Colorado Buffaloes. Why is your third string quarterback your starter? It's only week 3. You haven't played you played Georgia Tech and you weren't very good and your offense wasn't great that game. And then they played Delaware last week and put up 31 points. I know Staub had 3 touchdowns, but give me Houston minus 4.5. Houston's not great, but at home, I like them a lot in the spot. Short week. Colorado's not very good. Following up, we're going to, I don't even know what time this game is on Saturday. Nick, I can't believe I'm betting this. Give me UConn minus 9.5 against the Blue Hens. And my logic is on Saturday night, when you go back and scroll through the scores, you're going to look at that game. You're going to be like, wow, I didn't know that game was happening. Just close your eyes. And it is at Delaware, who is playing their 3rd game at the FBS level. Close your eyes. Do you see that game being decided by less than 10 points? No, you don't. You don't. Give me UConn minus 9.5. I don't care that they, tough game losing last week. They shouldn't have lost to Syracuse. Delaware's no good. Give me UConn minus 9.5. They might still be a playoff team. Let's move on to South Carolina minus 4.5. Jay had that pick. If Jay got it at 4, I'm taking it at 4 because I'd hate Diego Pavia. But Sandstorm at night. Vandy looked good. The over I like in that game as well. But yes, give me South Carolina minus 4 at home in Columbia. This will be my lock now. Utah going to Laramie at 8 o'clock on Saturday night. Give me the Utes covering 23.5 against Wyoming on the road. Give me the Utah Utes. Devin Dampier, he's the real Heisman favorite. That guy rocks. I love Utah. I'm all in on the Utes after what I saw week 1. And then finally, late at night, give me Cal getting 2.5 at home against the Minnesota Fighting PJ Flex. Minnesota's not great. They put up 60 in the first half against Northwestern State. Who cares? Week 1, they struggled to score 23 against Buffalo. You're telling me they're going to fly across the country to Cal at 10:30 at night and win and cover 2.5? I don't see it. They're not good enough to justify that. Cal's quarterback is a really good true freshman. He's going to light it up. Give me Cal plus 2.5. So those are my 6 picks. Houston, Arizona, UConn, South Carolina, Utah, and Cal. Lock of the week, Utah minus 23.5. Lock it in. Here we go.
Jay Walsh, we'll go to you next. We'll save my picks for last here. So, Jay Walsh, please grace us with your picks this week.
All right. So as I said earlier, after another respectable week, we're 6-4 on the season. You know, could be 8-2. Had a couple bad beats kind of go my way with some late comebacks to get a cover in the wrong direction, but we're still doing all right. Hoping to improve it this week. I am starting off on Friday, and the reason for this pick, because I hate doing this and taking just absolutely ridiculous spreads like this. But the entire identity of the Indiana Hoosiers team under Kurt Cignetti has been just beating the absolute living dog shit out of bad teams. And they are playing Indiana State on Friday, and they are favored by 48.5 points, and I am taking Indiana here. They didn't manage to beat the shit out of Old Dominion week 1, but they more than made up for it against Kennesaw State last week. They won 56-9 and took their foot off the gas. I think they're gonna just absolutely obliterate Indiana State on Friday. Give me the Hoosiers minus 7 touchdowns. Then we move on to the Saturday games. I am going Illinois minus 27.5 against Western Michigan. This one I actually had to think about because I don't think Western Michigan's a good team. Illinois should absolutely just demolish them in this game. But this could be a little bit of a look-ahead game for Illinois. They play Indiana the following week for realistically what could end up being a potential playoff knockout game, essentially, especially in the case of Indiana. If they lose that game, I don't see them sneaking into the playoff. But regardless, Illinois, I think, is a very solid team this year. I don't think they're a title contender. I don't know that they're necessarily a Big Ten title contender, but they are a very solid team. And as we saw against Michigan State week 1, I don't think Western Michigan is that good. Give me Illinois minus 27.5 here. We are moving to East Carolina at Coastal Carolina. I am taking East Carolina minus 7.5, rolling with Caton Hauser here. Not a whole lot to say about this game. I'm taking ECU. I don't think that Coastal Carolina is particularly that great. Not a lot else to say. Going ECU here. For my 4th pick, and this is my lock of the week, I am riding with Jay here. I'm taking Notre Dame minus 6.5 against Texas A&M. This is a prime spot for Notre Dame to make a statement here. Obviously, after the tough loss to Miami week 1, they've had a week to prepare for this game. It's at home, under the lights. This is prime territory for Notre Dame to come out and make a statement. I think they win this game by probably double digits. Give me Notre Dame here over Texas A&M. And then my final matchup, I am going with Duke Tulane. Give me the over 53.5 here. Both of these teams are very capable of scoring. I think Duke is in for a bounce back week after only putting up 19 against Illinois last week. But Darian Mensah, I still think, is a very good quarterback. Tulane, they've been my pick as the best group of 5 team. They scored enough points against South Alabama last week, obviously gave up a little bit in the 4th quarter to make it close, but their offense doesn't really have any trouble scoring. So I think the over 53.5 here is very achievable. And those are my 5 picks. Like I said, my lock of the week is Notre Dame this week.
All right, we'll go into my 5 picks for the week. Last week went 4-1. The only loss was, of course, my lock, which is, of course, how it would work out. Let's get into it. Friday night, people might hate this one. I don't know. UCLA is a god-awful football team. Give me New Mexico plus 15.5. I mean, it worked for me last week with
Great
UNLV.
pick.
What?
Great pick.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Give me the Lobos. Totally didn't base that off of a certain soccer club playing in New Mexico tonight in about 15 minutes time. But still, give me the Lobos. I love them because UCLA's got awful. Moving into Saturday, I am falling straight into the trap. Give me USF plus 17.5. I know everybody and their mother is going to be on USF in this game. And they're probably wrong, and I'm probably wrong here. But that's just such a big number for a team that might actually be good. So give me the Bulls. We'll just roll with them. We got to my lock of the week. I think Matt's going to be mad at this because we're harshing up some things from last week. Give me Ole Miss minus 7.5 against Arkansas as I get the thumb up. That is good news because Arkansas has played absolutely nobody this year and scored like 50 points in each game. They're going to have to face a real team now. I don't know if this Arkansas team is good. Ole Miss, we know what Ole Miss is. They'll be at home. Give me the Rebels minus 7.5. Let's head out to the West Coast. Give me Stanford plus 13.5. I know Stanford might be absolutely god-awful this year, just like UCLA. But they're facing Boston College. This literally may be one of the longest road trips of the season for any ACC school. That is literally coast to coast. That is why it is the ACC, the All-Coast Conference. Give me the Cardinal in this one because Boston College, while they almost won last week, they didn't. And they did look quite poor at sometimes. I'd still like Stanford to keep it within the number here. And to close out, I'm going to go with Matt here. Give me Cal plus 2.5. It's another long trip for Minnesota here. Obviously, it's not all 3 time zones. It's just 2. But Cal might not be good either. I don't really know. I haven't watched enough Cal Bears football this year that are what their GM is Ron Rivera. I haven't watched enough of their football this year, but I probably haven't watched enough Minnesota football this year. This is strictly off vibes. Give me Cal. So those are my 5 picks of the week. Of course, like I said, my lock is Ole Miss here. So that's going to be it. Jay Walsh, please.
Just to be clear, we are talking that you're taking the same Stanford team that lost to Hawaii in week 0, correct?
Yes, I am. I very much am. I know that because shout out Hawaii, 2-1 on the season, but Stanford can cover that number hopefully. So that's all I got.
Oh my! I like your Ole Miss pick. That was almost the replacement for JDC. But
that's good to hear.
Oh. And I will agree with Matt. I love the New Mexico pick. I might have added that to the parlay. I didn't even see that when I was scrolling through the games. But I love that pick partially because, I mean, realistically, New Mexico played Michigan okay, to be honest. And also, as you said, UCLA is god-awful.
All right, I have a question for you guys. So does anybody remember what the line was when Michigan State played Richmond 2 years ago?
Oh, Jesus.
I'm currently trying to find it. That's why I ask. Because Richmond plays a certain Power 5 team today or this weekend.
43.
And the spread is a lot lower than it should be.
I don't think it was in the 40s. I think it was in the 30s. I want to say it was like 30. I want to say it was like 36.5, maybe.
Let's see. Anyways, the team that I'm talking about, UNC, plays Richmond, and it's only 21.5 points. And I don't know if Richmond's any better than they were 2 years ago with Kyle Wickersham as their quarterback. But if that interests anybody. Either way.
I'm not betting on North Carolina again.
I mean, I'm not saying
they absolutely burned me week 1. I can't do it.
I have an over-under total, which was 44.5. So that spread must have been in the 30s.
It was probably right around 35. That would kind of make sense. Right. 35 and a half.
So that means Mel Tucker's final game as a football coach that team was 14 points better than Bill Belichick's UNC team.
Final game as a head coach for now. He may come back. You never know.
Michigan State was favored by 29 in that game.
Wow. All right. Anyways, I don't even know. Oh God. I can't believe I took Arizona. That should not have been the bet. There were definitely better plays, but I have to stick with it because I wanted to take it so bad. I was looking for an excuse to take it. Thank you, Nick.
I'm glad I could give you that advice.
Nobody's interested in Georgia Tech getting 3 at noon on Saturday against Clemson.
I want no part of that game.
I agree.
I want no part of that game.
The play of the week. He loves Georgia Tech. He's already placed a wager on it.
I want absolutely no part of that game.
Correct. That's
a big Haynes King guy. Loves the grit of Haynes King.
He just thinks it's still the 90s and that Georgia Tech's still competing for national championships.
Love it.
He still thinks they wear Russell uniforms.
Also, Jay, I'm not gonna lie. I was close to riding with you again and taking Alabama until I saw that their next game after Wisconsin is Georgia. It's a really difficult game to pick because Kalen DeBoer is basically coaching for his life at this point because somebody might kill him. But
also
at the same time, that is a classic look-ahead spot. Playing against the terrible Wisconsin team when you play at Georgia the next week, that is a classic look-ahead spot.
Here's my thought process. And, Jay, I was about to be my lock of the week. Wisconsin's not going to score more than 3 points. As bad as Alabama's defense looked against Tommy Castellanos the other day or a couple weeks ago, Wisconsin can't move the football.
Billy Edwards is.
Well, Edwards isn't even a starter anymore because it turns out when you run the air raid, you can't use a guy who can't throw. First and foremost, the kid that they have in there now is better. And Alabama's by themselves. If anything, I like the under in that game. But like Alabama has to cover 3 touchdowns. I know it might be a look-ahead spot, which I guess is a good point, Jay Walsh. But Alabama has like Nick said, or you. I think you said it. No, you said it about him potentially being. Yeah, I mean, he like Karen from Mobile said she wins the Powerball. First $70 million is going towards his buyout. So, unfortunately, good news for Kalen DeBoer, that didn't happen. But
that is just absolute elite Southern football attitude right there. Winning the Powerball and your first move is to buy out a college football coach. Just absolutely fantastic. No notes.
It's a great call. All right. I have nothing else to add.
I say we just wrap it up there. That feels like the perfect spot to end it. So thank you so much for watching. What an episode we had today. Some great week 3 football talk. We'll be back for week 4 next week. So make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe so you see that video. Tell anybody you know about it. We'll see you again next week for another episode of the Merrifield Sportsbook Show.